Hello, it's Thursday. Thank you all for coming. We had some sort of good news with a sell-off in the market. What's going on? And I've got a surprise for you in this video with some crazy numbers that sometimes it's darkest before the dawn. Anyway, we know so far there's been a lot of selling. We had Mt. Gox, we had Grayscale, we had the miners, we had the German government. Now we got a little bit of the US government. We'll try to get to the bottom of that. We'll talk a little bit about US inflation number and the call option against US inflation. And we were over 61K this morning, and then it tanked. Guess why? We'll talk about that too. So happy Wednesday, 2.1 trillion. We've been at 2.1 trillion now for like a month, I think. It's just been flat. Bitcoin price is 59.5. Dominance, we'll talk a bit about that, just shy of 56, and fear and greed is at 30. Let's jump in. Thank you as well to the mods in the chat, American Beishinger and Sean Donnelly and everybody else. Not financial advice. And let me see, this is from Patreon member OSU Buckeyes. That must be Ohio. Went from subscribing in less than a week to changing my retirement accounts and making folding money 2 days in a row with perps. Well done, Team Buckeye. Appreciate you. Let's go. Let's look at the fear and greed. You can see here it's at 30. So it's not extreme fear as it was a few days ago. It's back to fear, which is okay. 25 is the number you got to look for. That's normally a good time. When everybody is worried, that's the time you run in. Let's talk about some of the news first. A lot of good news today. First of all, the 13F filings are out for Q2 2024. And we've seen a lot of interesting stuff. There are major banks now munching on Bitcoin. Big banks, the $2.8 trillion Goldman Sachs, $1.4 trillion Morgan Stanley, and Morgan Stanley is unleashing 15,000 salespeople now to buy Bitcoin, $600 billion Wells Fargo. And Bitcoin Magazine says, are you paying attention? Let's see. So these are kind of a short list, a very short list of some of the new 13F Bitcoin stackers. Goldman Sachs, they've been buying, a ton across many different players, mostly in BlackRock. 240 million, about 80 million in Fidelity, 56 million in Invesco, 35 million in GBTC. They spread it all around. They don't have all their eggs in one basket. Millennium Management, they're a hedge fund, 1.9 billion across different ETFs. Schoenfeld Asset or Strategic Advisors, nearly $500 million. Big. Morgan Stanley, again, $270 million. Booth Bay Fund Management, $377 million. Pine Ridge Advisors, $205 million. Fortress, $54 million. And Aristea Capital, $163 million. Mostly IBIT. So now you know all the stuff that's been happening. Again, despite the heavy selling, these big asset managers are munching on Bitcoin. And that's going to be the big story. Like the title today is not for retail. We'll explain who is actually buying, and you probably get a bit of an inkling now. It's no longer a retail game per se. Also, while it's dark, while the prices are low, I know Michael Saylor. I know he's chomping at the bit right now with sub 60K Bitcoin. He's issuing shares to buy $2 billion worth of Bitcoin. And that'll happen over the next 10 days. They turn things around real fast, and he knows it's a game of time. So he's going to buy, and so is Marathon Mining, $250 million. You add those two together, just those two players, $2.25 billion. That's 38,000 Bitcoin. Who's selling? Well, we'll get to that in a minute too. But that's a big chunk, okay? Divide that by 450. And they'll be sucking up a huge part of this year's actual Bitcoin issuance. Also, you got pension funds. Wisconsin Pension Fund buys more Bitcoin. It broke last quarter that we had the State of Wisconsin Investment Board buy BlackRock ETF, and they just snacked on a big bunch more. So they are not stopping, and that'll put them way over 3-4% allocation to Bitcoin. Also, what has the market a bit rattled? It's like every day there's another kick in the teeth. Something else scares investors. This time it's the U.S. government. There's noise from HODL 15 Capital. U.S. government moved 10,000 Bitcoin from Silk Road wallets. Boom, let's verify this is true. Yes, it is true. and that's worth about $650 million, has been moved. But where did it go? Per Samson Mao, no, the US government didn't sell 10,000 Bitcoin. It moved the coins to Coinbase just like they did a few weeks ago for custody. That's true. A few weeks ago, they did move 10,000 Bitcoin as well. And that's because of the US Marshal Service chose Coinbase Prime to provide custody. Custody. The question is, does that mean they're going to hold, or are they going to kick it to Coinbase to sell on their behalf, or maybe join the dots between Michael Saylor, who will need about 30,000 Bitcoin? Can you hook me up, brother? Can you give me a little bit of that? I need about 30,000 Bitcoin in the next 10 days. Hook me up. Thank you. We don't know what's happening. We don't. But Marty Party did have his say. He believes the U.S. government moves 10K Bitcoin 53 minutes ago. It's the Silk Road stuff. And he believes it is to sell. Okay? It did first move to the Coinbase institutional wallet, but then it moved to the Prime wallet, and that's usually used to sell. So we'll find out. Either way, market's rattled, the price is impacted, so there's no need to worry about it now. That's the message. Now, there's a little bit of good news too as well. We've seen a huge trend towards Treasuries coming. Now, we hope that the Financial Accounting Standards Board, that's FASB, will launch their new fair value accounting for Bitcoin beginning after December 15th, 2024. And this upgrade to accounting standards will facilitate the adoption of Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset by corporations worldwide. That's from Michael Saylor. So that's hopefully going to be a real catalyst as well. We might have to wait till late 2024 for more treasuries to happen. But remember, Marathon are doing it, MicroStrategy is doing it, Semler is doing it, Medinet, Medidocnet, whatever is doing it. You got the guys in Japan doing it, Metaplex. Everybody's doing it. And it's so early. Remember, we've got a handful of corporations doing it. A handful from the 50,000 corporations on the planet that can do it. And hopefully some will. Let's get into some of the charts. Let's find out exactly where we are. Because I know people are frustrated. It's like, why am I not rich already? Where's my $250,000 Bitcoin, $100,000 Bitcoin? It's not here. Yeah, it's not a good time. Let's talk about what I call the post-halving matrix, my little box. Real simple. First of all, the gray box represents the floor and the roof, which is the all-time high, and the 90-day period after the halving. Normally, things kick off 90 days after halving. This has not happened. We have August, we have lackluster volume, and a couple of things you can see from this chart. First of all, the red line going up and to the right, that's the 200-day moving average. We did pierce that briefly the other day, and then it fell right down below it again. So that's proving to be a little bit of resistance. That's not good. The trend is down. That's not good. The only good news I can see from this box is we're above the floor. And that's okay. We're above, 59, whatever the floor is, 57K. So we'll take that as a small win. And then a lot of people saying, where are you with the top and bottom indicator? Well, let's overlay that onto that chart you just saw here. And you can see here, we did have that little moment where the top and bottom indicator flipped orange for the first time this bull run. And that was a scary, alarming thought, but it reverted back. Remember, this is based on on-chain data across 21 different indicators, composite score on a daily basis. And that was probably due to a lot of old coins moving, transfer wallets from Mt. Gox, etc. And a few other minor issues have triggered that. But the point is, we're back in yellow, so accumulation is fine. And you know who else is accumulating? We just covered that. A lot of people. So 60K is still, for those that ask me the question, is it still okay to buy here at this level? It's not as good as 15,500, but yes, it's good. It's hard to believe we were at that level not too long ago. Now let's look at another thing that people are talking about is dominance. Rarely talk about dominance, but there's a very simple answer as to why Bitcoin dominance is so strong. And let's check this out. I call this Bitcoin Dominance Explained. First of all, we have extreme Bitcoin dominance now, up around 56%. And that's up from 40% about a year ago. And much of it can be explained by the ETH dominance going down. Green is Bitcoin dominance on the left, and the mirror image, reverse mirror image, is ETH dominance going down, falling from over 20% down to about 15% right now. So as ETH, which used to be over a fifth of the crypto market cap, has shrunk, that makes Bitcoin stronger as well, a lot. Let's look at some more on-chain data, and let's talk about the period we've been through with the heavy selling on exchanges post all-time high from Glassnode. You can see here the spot cumulative volume delta, CVD, across all exchanges. We had a large sell-side regime post the all-time high. That means there was heavy selling. A few bouts of heavy buying, but overall pretty heavy selling. Again, heavy selling by Grayscale, heavy selling by miners, heavy selling by long-term holders that need to take some lifestyle chips off the table. You name it. Heavy selling by Germany. All of this had a big impact. The question is, when will it be done? And is the US becoming like a Germany now? Are they going to sell? We'll watch that carefully. We'll find out more tomorrow. Also, this shows you very clearly the spot cumulative volume delta. Again, the yellow box net sell side regime since March. Not good. That explains why, despite the inflows into the ETFs, it's been a buzzsaw against some of the other big sellers that are out there. That's why the price appreciation hasn't kind of gone where people were. But again, my target last year for the halving price was 42K. We hit 73K, so we're still ahead, everybody. So put things in perspective. Now, this is another cool chart as well. The market is currently digesting the Bitcoin downtrend of this cycle, of the retracement. We hit nearly 35% retracement from the high. And there was a lot of indecision amongst investors, a lot of retail investors. That was very apparent from this chart. However, if you look below the surface here, there is a distinct return to HODLing and accumulation underway, which is good. We're about to, if you look at the 11th of August, the long-term holder, short-term holder supply is now moving up. So again, the stackers are back, but the stackers are different this time. It is not so many retail investors. It is the big boys and girls that are in the game. Let's prove that out with some more charts. This is the ATS metric. This is the accumulation trend score, again from Glassnode. It's a weighted balance across the market. The metric also suggests there's a shift back, strong flip back towards accumulation as a dominant behavior. And the aforementioned shift towards accumulation has contributed to the ATS recording its highest possible value of 1.0, suggesting a huge amount of accumulation over the last 3 to 4 weeks. So who is actually buying? Well, here's the answer. Large whales, ladies and gentlemen. They've been stacking hard the last 30 days. They are the greater than 10,000 Bitcoin holders at the very top. Blue bar for 30 days. They haven't done this since March. That's big. If you look at the other cohorts, you can see retail, less than 1 Bitcoin, is not buying. Tiny little bit of nibbling, but really not buying. The 1 to 10 Bitcoin holders and the 100 to 1,000, they are buying. They just got in last week, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, the 10 to 100, not buying at all. And a little bit of nibbling on the 1K to 10K. So that is where we are. But it is a large player game right now. Always do what the big money does. Don't sit and wait on your hands, everybody. Not a good idea. This thing's going to go up. And we just don't know when. Now, another quick chart here is the short-term holder MVRV. Basically, in a bull market, when the short-term holder MVRV drops below 1, what do? The answer is you buy. It hit 0.89 and it's still below 1. That is the kill zone, ladies and gentlemen, just like the TABI model indicates too. Now, let's talk a little bit about the macro situation because this is so important. We'll talk about eggs as well. This is a bizarre egg story, but really cool for you to know. This is the CPI report, and the CPI report inflation has fallen below 3% for the first time since March 2021. Core inflation has also increased to 3.2%, the lowest level since April 2021. Now, the question is the fight against inflation finally over? I'm not sure because this guy Jerome Powell is looking for his magical unicorn 2%. We are still far from 2%. Again, yet we're below 3. but nowhere near, like 2.9 is nowhere near 2. So if he's looking to get to that 2% with this level of government spending, it means they need to torch the economy. Remember, the US government spent $7 trillion, okay? But other industries are clearly in a recession, like manufacturing, commercial real estate, etc. But with the amount of government spending, it's very hard to bring that CPI down to that magical 2%. So what are they going to do? I don't know. But this has also rattled markets, because if the markets believe that the Fed won't cut, they don't like that. And that's where we are. But more importantly, when you look at these little charts, kind of month to month, it doesn't really mean anything. Let's zoom out and get a better perspective as to the real inflation, where it is, and why this is all kind of noise. So this is your price action since January 2021. Basically, you lost a fifth of your purchasing power in a very short window of time. That's all you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. How do you preserve purchasing power? We know it. It's the Bitcoin Life Raft. And Uncle Fred Krueger, chimed in on this morning too. Bitcoin is like a giant call option on inflation. I love that, because I'm big into call options. If the system can hold together for another 4 years with little to no inflation, we'll probably hold at a power law trend line, one standard deviation, about $150,000 to $300,000 or so Bitcoin price target. But if you cut rates, print, and then get another big bout of inflation, Bitcoin is going to the moon, 1 million inside of the next presidential cycle. I assume that means over the next 4 years or so. I'm not sure. Either way, odds on the bet are amazing. It might be a little more bullish than I would call for, but 150 to 300. My goal is 120K. I'm beginning to hear the 120K everywhere around. We'll see what we can do. Remember, literally, the selling needs to stop. The buyers are coming in, and they're going to come in force for the second half of this year. We ain't seen nothing yet, and this thing is scarce. The minor reserves I covered in Octa yesterday are gone. There's no more miner selling coming. Marathon is not only mining Bitcoin, they're the biggest public miner, they're also buying it, as well as MicroStrategy and everybody else. So just zoom out and be patient. This thing will kick off. It will kick off. The question is when. Is it 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 months? I don't know. But it's going to kick off. But this is the big, big problem right now. And everybody is hurting for this. You know, everybody. Like, you go into the store and things cost a fortune. But this is the top political issue right now in the country and many other countries all around the world. 39% of Americans worry they can't pay the bills. And believe me, I had a utility bill I paid on Monday. $1,400. $1,400. Okay? That's enough to destroy many families. I won't tell you what my insurance bill was for property. That would spin heads. Everything is going to the moon real fast, and people cannot afford to pay for this stuff. All right? Real problem. Now, shout out to Dr. Jeff Ross. This is a funny one. He is comparing eggs to Bitcoin as a hedge. Junka, thank you for coming. But Dr. Ross highlights the importance between the rising cost of eggs in US dollars versus, from 2016 to 2024. And while egg prices increased 46% in that time frame, they dropped 99.5% in Bitcoin terms. And he concludes that saving in fiat currency leads to higher living costs over time, whereas saving in Bitcoin makes life cheaper and better. And the advantages of Bitcoin as a deflationary asset compared to the inflationary fiat money is the place to be. Eggs. The answer is in eggs. It's bonkers. And just to zoom out again one more time for some perspective as to where we are in the cycle. Bitcoin yearly candles still up big. We're still up 40%. Remember, in traditional markets, making 40% a year is bonkers. Last year, we made 156%. It's still a special place to be. And look at this simple little chart. 3 years of green, 1 year red. 3 years of green, 1 year red. 3 years of green, 1 year red. Very simple, very predictable. Bitcoin Only playlist will be here after the video. Let's get into some ETF money flows and find out what's going on, because it has been a little bit strange. And despite what you may hear, ETFs since launch sucked in a net 305,000. That's on top of nearly 400,000 dumped by Grayscale. So we're talking nearly 700,000 in these new ETFs since January 11th. And the flows last week are over 5,000 Bitcoin into these things. So yes, these ETFs have not slowed down, not by any stretch of the imagination. Let's look at the numbers. Now, it was a pretty crappy last 12 days. We had 5 negative days, but at least 2 positive days the last 2 days. We had a big negative day on day 147. By the way, it's day 149. Tomorrow's day 150. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. By the way, there's 252 trading days in a year. Okay, we're almost at the 150 level. Somebody calculate for me how far we are through the trading year based on this. Interesting question. And lackluster August so far. August, people are on vacation. People sit on the beach, being watched by paparazzi, etc. And we had 2 little positive days, but nothing too big. 4 days ago, we had a big day, and we had a big dump 3 days ago. But don't expect fireworks to go off. But what does happen, though, and I saw this happen after Q1, once the TradFi bros see the 13F filings and see who is stacking Bitcoin, it makes them go, uh-oh, I need to get in on this game too. And that's what happens. I expect a pump into the end of August. Okay? I'll put money on that if anybody wants to bet me. Also, despite the weak lackluster August, guess what? We're still consuming more than daily issuance over the last 2 days. And remember, 2 players are going to buy more than 33,000 Bitcoin over the next 10 days. Where are they going to get it? That could clear out the OTC desks. So thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat. Appreciate you all and hope everybody's well. And thank you as well to Outpost and Lena and who else did I miss? Yunka. See you all tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody. Stay well, stay healthy. We'll get through this. Summer doldrums are still here. But maybe things will kick off before September. If not, definitely by the end of September. So just be patient. See you all. We're middle of August. Maximum 6 weeks left. Ciao.